Let's head to Tekapo, where tourists pushing into weddings and even funerals, we're not making this up, in order to get their perfect holiday snap inside Tekapo's famous Church of the Good Shepherd, have driven the local council to take steps to limit access to the church. The Mayor of the Mackenzie District says some visitors to the iconic church are being abusive and disrespectful, and the behaviour can no longer be tolerated. Rachel Graham has more.
The sturdy little stone church, with a brilliant blue sky above, tussock gently waving in the winds, and a glimpse of the clear Lake Tekapo in the background, is the image everyone wants to be able to post online to show they've visited the Mackenzie District's Tekapo. But to get the shot, you also need to navigate your way around throngs of tourists, almost 1 million a year, who pour out from buses and cars. Tekapo Community Board Chair Stella Sweeney says they're also having to put up with people going to the toilet in the bushes, dropping litter and wandering into services.
The church is an operating parish and there'll be weddings and funerals and services held at various times. And some of the tourists just try and go into the church while those things are happening to get their photographs. There's a real lack of respect from some, certainly not all, but what we've had to do is had people outside in high-vis jackets keeping people away from the church.
Mackenzie Mayor Graham Smith says even having wardens in place doesn't deter some.
They are getting verbally abused at because they try to tell people, no, look, this church it's in at the moment, or there's a funeral on. Can you please shift back? Major problems. I was told there's been a couple of weddings that have been cancelled from the church simply because no one will give people a wee bit of privacy.
Graham Smith says the congregation has had enough and council has agreed to make changes. They've applied for $290,000 in funding from the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment to build a rock wall around the church and to move the parking area from the front of the church to an area around 10 minutes walk away. They're hoping for a decision before the end of the year. Mr Smith says they can't wait any longer and the council will pay for a temporary fence.
We're basically just going to put a netting fence sort of slightly outside of the boundary around the church so that we can actually control who goes in, and people will be still able to go inside, but when there's church on or something like that, they'll put the barrier down to stop people from going right up and trying to go inside the church.
Stella Sweeney says if these measures don't work, the church could look at further restricting access.
None of this is final yet, but perhaps have some guided tours, and only people allowed in the church are those that are in a managed group. But some kind of fencing may be put up around the church that fits in with the landscaping. Didn't really want this, but we think it's probably the only way to manage.
The problem seems to be exacerbated by the quick turnaround by some tour operators, with some only stopping in Tekapo for 25 minutes. Tour operator Jeff Gabbates runs the Cook Connection, but 2 years ago he moved his stop from outside the church to the village, requiring his customers to walk 10 minutes to get to the church. He says the experience for tourists at the moment is terrible, and moving the car park would be positive for both the township and the tourists.
There's no benefit to the local community where people are just coming in, jumping out, running around, taking half a dozen photos for their next Instagram or Facebook and then jumping on board. Is that the type of tourism we're looking to attract, or do you want people to come and stay, explore the area, spend some money in the area as well, benefit the local economy, but equally respect what is there in the first place?
Graham Smith hopes that the new temporary fence will be in place before the end of the year. For Checkpoint, Rachel Graham.